Boys and girls, we arrive here at Liverpool with one job and one job only. We've got unfinished business here in the Premier League. Despite winning multiple Champions League, Serie A, La Liga, we've never won the Premier League despite managing two teams in it. So, third time lucky, we're going to win the Premier League with Liverpool. They did finish 8th last year. Hello and welcome to Club 6, Part 1 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. I think this is the first time we've made it to 6 clubs. Non-League to Legend historians, let me know down in the comments section, have we made it to 6 clubs before? But we are at our 6th and final club of this year's Non-League to Legend. This is it now. The dream of going back to Preston is over. They could have had me this summer. They didn't want me. Liverpool did. So we're going to do our unfinished business here at Liverpool. We're going to win the Premier League. If we happen to pick up a third Champions League with a third different club along the way, then so be it. But the goal is a simple one. We want to win the Premier League. And that's why Liverpool have thrown the big bucks at us. £120,000 a week on a 3-year contract. It shouldn't take us 3 years. This is Liverpool, for goodness sake. We should crack on with this in no time. It'll be fine. Let's find out how much we can borrow to buy a house now we're back in England. So based on my salary of £120,000 a week, which is about £6 million a year, we could borrow up to £28.5 million, according to this non-specific, very generic mortgage calculator. We won't get a shout out until they finally agree to sponsor me. Let's see what we can buy in Liverpool for £28.5 million. It turns out the answer to that is a lot of Liverpool. So we've extended the radius to 20 miles around the city to try and get out into the countryside for the big fancy mansions. And even then, the most expensive one we can find is this one at £7.5 million. It's a bargain in the north. We should all move there. And this one is a big, fancy, grand design style glass and metal rather than brick and whatever else normal houses are made of kind of house. It looks like the Avengers complex. It's absolutely bonkers. Look at that. I mean, that is a magic floaty outdoor chair next to my magic outdoor swimming pool, which I'm sure in the north of England gets an incredible amount of use all year round. Look at it. As we all know, chairs are the real proof of wealth. And I mean, is that a chair? We've got, that's a 3-seater. I know it's that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 12. There's 13 seats in that shot. It's absolutely mad. We're not going to watch the YouTube video or the virtual tour, but they've got a big fancy island and multiple tables to it. Look, just from this one shot, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different places you can eat your dinner, which is, there's another one. Who wants to eat their dinner in the hallway? Apparently, the people who own this house, there's no way you're going to convince me this house isn't currently owned by a footballer who plays for like Liverpool or Manchester City. They've got an indoor cinema. You could fit several really fat people on that sofa and they're watching a big film, which is lovely. Big snooker table. That's a chair. If you've got a group of people who all want to face away from each other, that's the ideal chair. Everyone goes back to back. There's an Eric Cantona shirt on the wall. Is it his house? There's another. Is this Eric Cantona's house? Because there's another red number 7 shirt up there. We've got some football on the telly. Is this Eric Cantona's house? Whose kit is that green one? Let me know down in the comment section. There's an actual fish tank behind this bar, which is absolutely bonkers. A gym. Hold on. A gym with plants on the wall. A second swimming pool, as if one wasn't enough, and a magic floaty chair. This is £7.5 million. I am having a bit of this. Goodness me. Look at this wonderful wonder. That is my new house, everybody. That one would have been fine. That's basically the shed. That would do me. The rest of the house is just a bonus. There's, the map of my grounds, of my land. Oh, Liverpool's wonderful. So now we've finally got somewhere to live. I guess we need to go and meet the team. Remember, if you are new to the series because it's got episode 1 on the thumbnail and you're not quite sure what's going on, We are 6 clubs into a story that started at Peterborough Sports down in non-league. So that's why this isn't necessarily the Liverpool team that you recognise. However, people who've been watching the series will definitely recognise some of the names in this Liverpool team, most notably Zelmar Blanco in goal, a goalkeeper we brought to the Premier League at aged 18 to be our goalkeeper at Preston. And he's now presumably a lot older than 18. We'll have a look at him in a second. And also Aspas, the striker we signed for Barcelona from West Ham. And then he moved on to Liverpool the summer we moved to Juventus and tried to take him with us to Juventus. And he chose to come here instead. In addition, we've also got some guy called Bellingham, who's probably still only like 28 or something ridiculous because he's far too young in real life. So the board are looking for me to freshen up this team with some younger players. So they want me to do basically what I've been doing throughout my entire career at every club I've managed, sign players under the age of 23 for the first team, and then play high-tempo, pressing, possession football, which is the kind of football I like to play. They also want me to make the most of set pieces, which is impossible to do, so we're not going to worry about that. And I'm querying the sign players to sell for a profit. I don't really want to sell my best players at a profit. I want to keep them and use them to do these other objectives that are required rather than preferred, maintain the club's status as the biggest team in the world. I feel like it's difficult to do that whilst being a selling club. And they also want me to win a domestic double whilst being competitive in the Europa Conference League this year. I mean, we have to win that, don't we? An 8th place finish in the Premier League is not really good enough for Liverpool. But I guess the Conference League, it'll be fun to go and win it. They want us to finish above Everton in the league, which should be doable. And this is the fans' view. And they also want us to play attacking, entertaining football, develop young players. Typical Liverpool kind of things. I can cope with all of that. So I am in. Who's taken over for me at Juventus as manager? Nobody has yet. In fact, the first thing we should do, now we're back in England, is see if we can hook back up with Michael Gash again. Where is he? Tell me he's not retired. I left him at Tottenham minding his own business. He didn't want to come abroad. Is he done now? How do I look at their staff? Staff. Michael Gash, where are you? What a waste of a wonderful man. How do we look at staff? Let's go back. We're looking for Gash. There he is. Michael Gash was released 5 years ago now. So he didn't want to come to Spain with me when I went to Barcelona. But, I mean, what's that? 2-3 weeks after? I mean, I maybe should have kept an eye on this. Gashy, you should have picked up the phone at that point. They sacked him 2 or 3 weeks after I left to go to Barcelona. 5 years later, I've just noticed. Meanwhile, he's been working as a plumber for the last 4 years and has no interest in getting back into football. That's a bit of a shame. We may have needed to have kept a tighter watch on what was going on with Michael Gash. We'll know for next time. That is an extraordinary number of players that are out on loan at this football club at the moment. I guess most of those are going to be arriving back once we hit the 1st of July. But if we get my view on properly, we can have a look to see who our best players are. I would expect Blanco to be right up there. 26 years old now, Zelmar Blanco. 86 caps for Uruguay. That's where I brought him to the Premier League a long time ago now. Goodness me, what a long time ago. Getting on for 10 years since I brought him to the Premier League. And he is, I mean, probably one of the most expensive goalkeepers in history and has been Liverpool's starting keeper for the last 4 years. That's certainly not an area we need to worry about. The best player at the club is this guy, Amaro Diallo, who is a right winger. He's a Raumdeuter on the right-hand side, can also play as a striker. He's a German international, 32 caps in 59 appearances for Germany, wanted by Bayern Munich. He's previously passed through Dortmund, so definitely a Bayern Munich kind of play. It's going to be interesting whether we're going to be able to keep hold of a player like this, bearing in mind the fact we're not playing in the Champions League this year. How important is Champions League football this year going to be to a player like that? We've also then got a very good left back. It's good that these top players we've got at the club aren't all old men. This is a bit of a novelty. I don't really know how this team have ended up finishing as low down the league as they have. This guy's 26 years old and one of the best defenders in the world. We've got a left winger, Adama Kone, who looks amazing as well. This is a team that should go and win the league. Julio Aspas, who we know all about from our time at Barcelona. I mean, he was never really the nailed on regular starter for us at Barcelona. That's why we moved him on. But he's a he's a decent finisher and part of a front three where you have Jallo on one side, Kone on the other, and Aspas through the middle. That seems like it would work. Jude Bellingham, still only 31 years old. In fact, turns 32 in a few days' time. We've learnt from the likes of Harry Kane, Dusan Vlahovic in this save that Jude Bellingham's got another 3 or 4 years in him yet, at least. So we don't need to be worrying at all about Jude Bellingham at 32 years old. And then we've got Ramon, who is a Spanish central midfielder, previously of Newcastle. We've got another left back, Marcos Pereira. He sounds familiar. We had him at Barcelona. I knew you all along, Marcus. Don't worry. I remember you and everything about you. And then Harvey Elliott, who is still knocking about the place as well. And then the further down we get, the less talented the players become. Have we got any fantastic young players that we need to be aware of? Not really. That seems to be the one downside to this squad. Have we got anything in the development centre? Not really. So it's pretty clear what we need to be doing with this Liverpool side. We need to go out and just freshen up with some youth. There's not a load of old men who need to move on. The likes of Bellingham and Elliott are fine. They're not in their late 30s. They're very early 30s. They'll be fine. They've been here a long time. Someone like Trent, okay, less likely to be using him on a regular basis now at 36, getting on for 37 years old. He's probably coming in to the end of his run, as are the likes of Vitinha and Eric Garcia as well. So those guys probably need replacing. But the key thing is we need to bring in some youth, which is what the board have asked me to do anyway. Financial wise, we've got £67 million to spend. So that's enough for a couple of decent established players or a big handful of young up-and-comers. And I think we're probably going to lean towards the up-and-comers. And there's a little bit of gap left in the wage budget as well. I'm just going to show you what the debt situation is before I get my hands on this club so that you can't all blame me for anything that's about to happen. So a net debt of 58 million, a transfer debt of 5 million. I guess I'll behave myself here as well, like I have at the last couple of clubs, especially bearing in mind the projection for the club is to go down over the next few years money-wise. And of course, they've now got to do a season without Champions League income, probably for the first time in many a long year. I mean, the first time since 2016, so nearly 20 years since Liverpool have had to have a season where they're not in the Champions League. That is potentially going to be costly, both in terms of actual cash money funds and also in terms of keeping hold of these best players who might decide that they want to go and play in the Champions League. In fact, there's your examples. There's 4 players who've openly said they want to go and play in the Champions League. Vitinha, who at 35, I mean, yeah, all right. Someone wants to give me money for you, you can go. Jude Bellingham, I'm much less happy about selling, but at 31, if we can get bonkers money for him and he doesn't want to be here, yeah, we'll take bonkers money for him. Blanco, I really don't want to sell. Goalkeepers are really hard to come by in Football Manager, and I would like to keep a goalkeeper that I have a lot of faith in from previous experience. I'd like to keep him around the place, unless we can go and get Benoit from our previous club in Juventus, or someone like Seco, or even Dennis Simon. Unless we can get one of our other boys in, I want to keep Blanco around, so we need to try and keep him happy. And Aspas, similar to the Bellingham situation, if we get anywhere near that kind of money from him, I mean, Aspas is a good striker. He is not a great striker. He is not a £250 million striker. He's not a nearly £500,000 a week striker. We get anywhere near that kind of money, we use him to fund an entire rebuild. It would be the biggest transfer in history. It's probably not going to happen, so I don't think we need to worry too much about Aspas going as much as he might want to. We've got a couple of players who are on their way out of the club. No one that I particularly need to worry about, though. That's all fine. I guess we just need to have a little look at what we're going to do tactically. So if we look at who our best players are, obviously we're doing, at the very least, a front three. We've got Jallo and Kone wide, Aspas through the middle. We don't really have anyone else attacking wise. Elliott's. So I guess we're doing a 4-3-3 like we've been doing recently. I'm certainly never going to do a 3 at the back, 5 at the back kind of thing, because I'm no coward. So flat back 4, front 3. It's then just what we're going to do with what's going on in the middle. And when you've got someone like Bellingham, you can play him deep. You can play him more. We could do a 4-2-3-1. We could do a 4-3-3. I guess as a starting point, we just carry on doing what we've been doing at recent clubs and get that high tempo pressing football up and running, vertical tiki-taka, gegenpress, neither of which are being recommended by my backup staff. I mean, these are not the kind of systems that the fans and the board want me to play, so it's got to be something higher pressing, higher tempo that we've got to go with. So I guess we're probably leaning towards that, because I think the tiki-takas are lower tempo. They're basically lower tempo versions of the gegenpress, and I think the board were looking for high tempo. Is that right? Yeah, high tempo pressing football. And then the supporters are looking for... They don't really care as long as it's attacking and entertaining. So I think we're being pushed towards a gegenpress here. So a gegenpress, probably a gegenpress 4-3-3 as a starting point with Bellingham. It's not going to let me do a quick... I can't. We can do a quick pick. We can't do a quick pick because everyone's still on holiday, I think. Yeah. But we'd probably have Bellingham at the base there. In fact, we can probably do this the old-fashioned way. So you'd have Aspas, and then on this side you have Kone. On this side you have Diallo. There you stick Bellingham. That's not how you spell Bellingham. That's a completely different man. Let's try that again. So there you put Bellingham in midfield. You've got Ramon. You've maybe got a little bit of a gap here. Vitinha, who we're probably going to let go. And then we know we've got a good left back in Peralta. Is Trent still going to get anywhere in the team? Probably not. Although, is he familiar? Have we had this guy before? No. I must have tried to sign him. So he's in at centre-back. And then an ageing Eric Garcia. This is where it gets a little weaker, I guess, because we probably need to be replacing Garcia and Trent, and then Blanco in goal. So the immediate areas to strengthen, centre-back, right-back, centre-mid, is what's being screamed at me. Does the squad planner agree with that? Let's have a little look at what the squad planner has to say. Yeah, pretty much. We have quite a fast drop-off at centre-back. Right-back, Corgi, Pereira, Garcia, none of them are going to play at right-back, so we do need a right-back as a matter of urgency. And then if Aspas wants to leave, we don't really have a striker option behind him. This is the next guy in the list. Jules Loa, who's a French international, so not disastrous, but also not really an out-and-out striker, more of a support striker, fancies himself as a false nine, deep-lying forward, trequartista. Absolutely not my kind of centre-forward, doesn't score enough goals. He's the kind of guy I'm probably looking to ship out. There's someone interested in him. He can get gone as far as I'm concerned. Barcelona want him. We'll swap him for Sakuna. Aspas would love that, having Sakuna come in over the top of him again. But I think definitely right back, midfield, backup striker, maybe another centre-back. There's certainly business to be done, and we've just got to see how many of these players we can keep hold of. The media think we are second favourites to win the league. So despite an 8th place finish last year, it was just a rotten year for Liverpool last year. And we've still got a number of the best players in the league. Peralta, Corgi, Diallo. One of my previous boys, Seko, in goal for Manchester City. But there's certainly stuff we can do here. We need to make some transfer moves, and that'll be what I am getting up to before tomorrow's episode. Let me know down in the comments section what you would do with this squad. Do you think I'm looking to strengthen in the right areas? Am I looking to play the right kind of system? We want to get this Premier League won in the next year or two, really, because then we can wrap the series up and enjoy a nice long retirement. I'm still only 52 years old in game, about to turn 53. If I can retire at 55 with a 3rd Champions League and finally having won a Premier League trophy, I think that works quite nicely for me. So 2 years. We've got 2 years to do a football with Liverpool. That should be possible with this squad, for sure. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.